Okay guys, so in this session we are going to understand the basics of HTML. Now let's understand the basics of HTML. So in HTML, a hypertext markup language, it is a web technology. Okay, a web technology using which we can design our application. So let's talk about the basic HTML statement, and we will understand different points about that HTML statement, right? So if I want to design any control on my web page, I have to write it in some web technologies. Now what are the different web technologies available? I'll just name few here: HTML, HTML5, Angular, then React. So these are few, React.js. So these are few UI design technologies. Now when we say when we say that web application, so any web application or any application for that matter, let's not talk about the web application, any web application, any application. So any application has basically two components. One is front end and another one is back end. So front end is, like, say for this application, the front end is this web page. This is a front end, and back end is where the business logic is implemented. Like when I will enter the username, password, I'll click on login, some say web service would be called, it will take the username, password and would be sent to the database. It will check the username, password existed in the database or not, and based on that it will decide whether to allow us to get into the application or not, right? So that code is written at some different component which we call as backend component, and this is a front end. Now the front ends are designed with different technologies than what are used for implementing backends. Now there is a hell lot of confusion out there in the people that like seldom people ask, I have a Java application, can I use Selenium? I have a .NET application, can I use this tool or that tool for UI automation? Now let's be very specific here and let's understand. The main point in UI automation is that UI automation tool interacts with the UI of your application. So what is important to know here is which is the UI design technology used for designing your web page. So there are various UI design technologies, right? So there are two types of UI design technologies, guys. One is web technologies, one section is web technologies, and native technologies, native text. Okay, so what are the different web technologies? So as I mentioned, this HTML, HTML5, Angular.js, these are the web technologies. And what are the native technologies? They are WPF, WinForms, and there are other SDKs like Android SDK. If we talk about any mobile application, Android SDK, iOS SDK. So there are different SDKs, software development kits, available to design the platform specific application. Now let's take an example of platform specific application like this calculator. So the interface of this is designed using the SDK like this, any of these SDKs like this, WinForms or WPF. So these applications, like if your application's interface is designed using a native design technologies, either WPF or WinForms, or there are many many SDKs out there. So your application is called as native application. So if application is designed using these technologies, it is called as native app. Okay, and if your application is designed using the web technologies like this, it is called as web interface app, right? Now for any UI automation tester, it's very important to have a basic understanding of a web technology which is used to design the interface of the application he is automating, and few, like the understanding of the native technologies as well, if the application which he or she is automating is designed using these web technology, native technologies, right? Now out of these we are talking about right now HTML. So let's talk about the HTML technology. So how the controls are designed using HTML technologies, right? So first is input. So this is the tag, this is called a tag name, which defines what kind of a control we are designing. So it's an input control like button, text, so where you can go and park your cursor in, where you can go and hover your mouse and perform some kind of a click, right? So these are called input elements. Now input, then type. So this type actually defines what kind of a input element it is. So if you say text, so it's a control like this control, which is an edit control, where you can park your where you can park your cursor and type inside, right? So this is the control. Now let's talk about class. What is class here? Now there is a concept called CSS, cascading style sheets, CSS. So cascading style sheets. So what are those cascading style sheets? CSS stands for cascading style sheets. Now let's understand what it is. So cascading style sheets means what? Like if I want to design this particular control and I want to give it a dimension, like height should be this much, let's say 2, height is equal to 2, width is equal to 50, right? So I can define these properties here for the control, that particular control. Say height equal to 2, width equal to say 10, right? So this particular control will get the height and width according to the property set. So these are called attributes or property, you can call it anything. So attribute type is text, that makes this control a text box control, and height and width, these kind of attributes define the dimension of that control. Now I want to give the same dimension to other edit controls on the page as well. All the elements should look same, right? So you won't find any web page where the button control, one button control is displayed in golden color and the other one is displayed in the blue color. It doesn't happen. The web page, when the design happens, the similar kind of controls, they have some kind of a uniformity with respect to display, with respect to height, weight, color and all, right? So instead of defining the attributes separately for different controls, so if I want to define another text control with the same dimensions, same look and feel, so the attributes which are responsible like height, width, color, background color and all, these are responsible for giving some look and feel to that control, and look and feel of similar kind of controls, they are kept uniform in the web application, right? So instead of defining like this, in defining the attributes in every input type text separately, so the problem in keeping them defined in every input type text is, if I tomorrow want to change the height of all the edit controls from height from 2 to 10, then I have to go to every control and do the modifications, right? As a designer, I have kept the uniformity in the height and width of I want to keep the uniformity in the height and width of every edit control from my page, right? So if I define the height and width in every edit control, that's fine, but tomorrow whenever I would like to change it, I have to go to every input tag and do the modification. So what is the way for it? So the way is defining the cascading style sheet, CSS. So CSS is a group which defines the the properties like height, width, background color, foreground color. So let's say these 4 properties. I want to define a cascading style sheet for the button control. So I'll define the cascading style sheet, say button. Okay, we can give any name. And I'm not exactly, I'm not writing the syntax exactly. I'm just trying to make a point here. I'm just trying to make this concept understandable. What is CSS? I'm wrong in the syntax of defining the CSS, but forget about the syntax, understand the concept. So I have created one group of properties where height to width is 10 and background color is equal to yellow. So I want this group of properties to be applied to all the button controls on my page. So what I'll do, I will create one CSS. Now this is what designers do. We don't do it as an automation testers, guys, but as we are understanding the HTML technology here, so I'm just explaining this concept to you guys. Okay, so the designer designs the CSS, okay, cascading style sheet. Now this cascading style sheet he wants to apply to all the button controls. So what we'll do, I'll just make this text as a button here. So this will define the input as type button, and I want to apply the height, width as well as this background color to all my button controls. So instead of defining this attributes separately in each input tag, what I'll do is I'll simply replace all these things with class equal to button. Now this button and this button is different. Okay, I'll just change the name to avoid the confusion. So I'll say button CSS. I can give any name. So class equal to button CSS. Here also the class equal to button CSS. So this is how the uniformity in the display of controls is achieved using the cascading style sheet. So cascading style sheets is a group of properties, and if you want to apply this group of property to multiple controls, so you refer that CSS in the class attribute. So this is what designer do. Now if we want to tomorrow, if we want to change the colors of all the button controls from our page from yellow to red, I'll just make a change here. I will not go to every control and do the change individually for every control. I will just simply change the CSS so that CSS is referred to the button controls in my page, so that that change would be passed on to every button control from my page. This is how designers design the applications. So this class attribute usually refers the CSS which is applied to that, right? This is class. Now let's talk about ID attribute. Now designers set the ID attributes, ID as well as name attribute. Now let's talk about what these attributes are. Now let's understand, before we understand about the ID and name attribute, let's understand the concept called client side validation. Okay, so client side validation, let's understand it, and then I'll explain you what is the significance of ID and name here. So client side validation means what? Like here there is a control, right? And this control, this edit control is expected to contain, let's assume that this edit control is expected to only contain characters. Only characters are allowed, character to be typed. Okay. Now if I enter numerics and I'll leave the field. Okay, I'll leave the field. Now many a times we see an application where if you enter a wrong data into the control and you leave the field, immediately you get a error here. Immediately you get to see an error here, invalid data. Okay, so this data is validated inside the page only. Means the code to validate the content of a control is written inside the page. Now there are two kinds of validations. Let's understand. One is client side validation. the code of which is written inside the page itself. And another one is server side validation. That is, once you click on the login button or submit button, the data gets sent to the server and there it gets validated whether it is correct or not. So if your data is getting sent to the server and getting validated over there, it is called server side validation. Whereas if the data is being validated before the user is allowed to click on submit button and data gets sent, the data should be validated first here itself instead of sending it to the server and validating it over there and wasting the time. Like, there is no point in sending the wrong data to the server and cluttering the server logic with lot of server side validations there. It's always better to validate few things on the client side and few things on the server side. So client side validations developers do write. They do write the client side validation. So how they do it? They write a JavaScript inside the page, inside the web page. They write a JavaScript, and with the help of that JavaScript, what do they do is they identify this element. The way we are in UI automation, we identify the elements. The designers or the developers also do the same thing as a part of their client side validation code. So what they do is they identify this element, they read this value from it, and they apply their logic. That value should not be other than characters. So if it is, show the error. If it is not, don't show the error. So that kind of logic would be part of the web page itself. It is called client side validation. So when the developers implement the client side validations, they need to identify the element, right? So they need to read the value entered by the user, and then by reading it, they will apply some logic to validate that data. So how do they identify? So first of all, developers write these client side validation codes in JavaScript, and JavaScript has a get element by ID and get element by name. I'll show you get element by ID. So this is a JavaScript function. This is a JavaScript function. So this JavaScript function document, so they write this code document.get element by ID, and they give the IDs or names. So they set it. So they set the IDs and names to the elements. Like when they design the element, so they set the IDs and name here. So ID they set as, say, let's say login button. So they want to do some kind of a client side validation, let's say, on our button control. So they want to identify that button control, right? But in JavaScript, they have few methods like get element by ID, get element by name. So these get element by ID and get element by name, these are the JavaScript methods using which the developers identify the elements and they have some client side validations implemented. That's why developers tend to set some unique values into these ID and name attributes. Why? Because they require this as a part of the implementation of their client side validations, right? So usually you will find that the IDs and names are set. It is usually, I mean, I'm not saying that 100% of the developers do it, but if they have any client side validations implemented as a part of your web application page, then surely you will find either ID or name attributes set to the unique value. Unique value is important for the developers here. Why? Because they want to identify the element and they want to apply some client side validation logic on it. So they set the ID or name attribute to this element, a unique value. Unique means the same value should not be set to any other element from the page. So IDs and names are usually set by the developers for their own purpose. They don't set it for anything else. They just want the elements to be identified as a part of their client side validation logic, and hence they set the ID and name attributes uniquely to those elements, because the JavaScript in which they write their client side validations, so JavaScript does support get element by ID and get element by name kind of methods. You can see get element by name. So by name, by ID, these are the functions from JavaScript, and JavaScript, using this the developers implement the client side validations. So that's why IDs and names you can also see set, and they are tend to set to unique values, right? So here for this element also you can see the input is a tag name equal to txt username. So the developer, if he wants to implement a client side validation on this, he can identify this element using JavaScript get element by name txt username, then he will retrieve the value entered inside it, and then he will apply the logic to do a client side validation. So name, ID, these are the attributes are oftenly set to the unique values for the purpose of allowing the client side validations, right? Type, as I already mentioned, type. Now these attributes are uniquely set, as I mentioned, right? So uniquely set attributes, these are name, ID. So this is called attribute, this is called attribute value. ID is yet another attribute name, this is an attribute value. Type is yet another attribute name, text is attribute value. So this much of information about the HTML we should possess before we go for any UI automation of an application, the interface of which is designed using HTML, right?